hello and welcome back to our Bright Stars Spotlight series. I'm Kirsten Bartlett, one of the founders and managing directors of the Granted Group. Bright Stars is Granted Group's initiative showcasing the stories of Australia's amazing researchers who happen to be women. The purpose of telling these stories includes encouraging women in research to keep striving for senior appointments and to inspire young women and girls to pursue a career in research. Today's Spotlight interview is with Professor Rebecca Lester from Deakin University. Rebecca is an ecologist with experience in freshwater, estuarine and marine systems. She's the director of the Centre for Regional and Rural Futures in Geelong, which delivers innovative research solutions to regional and rural communities. Rebecca was awarded the New South Wales Office of Environment and Heritage Eureka Prize for Environmental Research in 2015 and has won over $1.8 million worth of funding for her research. Those are just two of the many accomplishments. And because we know she's passionate about supporting women in research and science, I'm absolutely thrilled to be chatting to her today. So thank you for joining us, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me, Kirsten.
So first of all, can you tell me a little bit about your research and why it's important?
So my research focuses on aquatic ecosystems. And I have a pretty broad range of topics that I look at within there, everything from fundamental science about what are the different ways that species interact within an environment that enable them to survive within that environment and how might they respond under things like climate change, all the way through to managing those aquatic ecosystems. How can we do a better job of supporting the environmental values that we have, recognizing that we're always going to be using some of these ecosystems for human use? We need water for drinking, we need water for agriculture, so we need to find a better way to actually balance those out. And more recently, my research has focused a little bit more on the human end of things and how humans interact with their environment. With initiatives like water reform within the Murray-Darling Basin, lots of our regional communities have not had a chance to adapt to those changing environments. There's all sorts of things happening. There's drought, there's floods, there's changes in world markets, there's COVID, and that makes it really tough for some of those communities. So we're also looking at ways to try to support our human communities to be able to have a sustainable future within the basin as well.
Wonderful, excellent. And so really that focus on regional and rural communities is something that sets your work apart, I suppose, from the more general approach to environmental science.
Yeah, that's right. It is very integrative. So lots of other environmental scientists tend to focus on one specific area. They're a plant biologist or they're an invertebrate ecologist, whereas my work tends to sit across disciplines. So I'm looking for links between those different areas within an ecosystem, or links between the natural system and the human systems, or links between how we can manage a system and what is actually happening within the ecology of those systems. So that tends to be what sets my research apart.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, tell me then a little bit about what your advice might be to someone, a young woman perhaps who's thinking about getting into a career in research, maybe even specifically in your area.
I think that the first thing is to really think about how passionate you are about research as a career. It can be really tough. There are really difficult parts about particularly being in academia. The workloads are terrible. The ability to have work-life balance can be a real struggle. Some of the pressure that you get, and there's lots of negativity that can come as well with reviews on papers and grants. So you have to be pretty confident that this is going to be the right career for you, and you have to have a pretty thick skin. But if you can, if you're sure that it's the right area for you, it's a wonderful career in a lot of ways too. There's so much freedom to study things that you want to study. You can take your research in pretty much any direction you would like to take it. You get to come in and work with amazing people who are passionate about what they do. I supervise research students, so you get to help people to grow and to develop as scientists. You know, there are some really fantastic elements to research as a career. And so being able to find that balance and work out where is the best place for yourself. Is it in academia? Is it in government? Is it at CSIRO? Is it in a consulting company? What is it the element that it's really going to make it the right thing for you? That would be what I would suggest for women coming into research, is find what works for you and for your passion.
Wonderful. And you raise a really good point, Rebecca, I think, around the fact that being a researcher doesn't mean you just sit within an academic university environment, that there are lots and lots of opportunities if you've pursued a PhD to work across government or consulting or other industry areas. And so it's not just restricted. So I think that that's a really good point to raise with young people who are considering a career in research. Great, thank you. All right, my final question for you then is, if you hadn't ended up as a researcher, what do you think you might have done?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I feel like I would have always wanted to be a researcher, and so it's not something that I have given a lot of serious thought to. Where else would I be? I suspect the answer is probably government. That I suspect that I would probably be still interested in how we manage our ecosystems and how we can do a better job of that. And perhaps I'd be sitting over the other side of the fence there. I work a lot with some really great managers who are really passionate about what they do. And so I think that, that would be another opportunity for me if I weren't doing what I do now.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for talking with us today, Rebecca. It was lovely to hear about your work. Obviously, really important, certainly at this point in our, the evolution of the humans and interaction with the environment. And so it's been great to talk to you, hear your advice for young women considering a career in research, and of course knowing that even if you hadn't ended up in research, you probably would have been doing something to support the good work in making sure that we work with our environment in a more sustainable way. So thank you.
Thanks very much.